us to Seong Ji-hun, who will become the central character of the entire series. On the surface, he is a middle-aged man who seems carefree, but very quickly we learn that his life is filled with failure, irresponsibility, and desperation. He lives with his elderly mother in a cramped home, yet despite her sacrifices, he continues to waste what little money they have. Instead of being a responsible father and son, Ji-hun is addicted to gambling, and his only joy comes from betting at the horse racing track. Early in the episode, we see him steal money from his mother just to fund his gambling habits, a decision that already paints him as deeply flawed but also pitiful. His gambling streak gives him a sudden moment of triumph. He wins a big amount at the races and feels on top of the world, believing his life is finally turning around. However, this excitement doesn't last long. His reckless behavior, combined with his greed, leads to disaster when he gets tricked by pickpockets and loses almost all the winnings before he can even enjoy them. On top of that, he owes money to loan sharks who catch up with him, beat him badly, and force him to sign a terrifying contract promising to repay the debt with either his money or his organs. This entire setup is important because it shows us who Ji-hun really is, a man who desperately wants to be good, especially for his daughter's sake, but who is trapped in a cycle of bad choices, poverty, and desperation. The episode establishes his misery so strongly that when the mysterious offer of the game comes, both he and the audience understand why someone in his position might take such a dangerous gamble, because for him, it feels like he has no other way out. After Ji-hun's humiliating encounter with the loan sharks and his crushing loss at the races, his day seems like it couldn't get any worse. But then comes the turning point of his life, the moment where destiny begins to shift. It is in this moment of defeat that he encounters a well-dressed man in a sharp suit, sitting across from him with an air of calm confidence. This stranger, who introduces himself as simply a businessman, seems oddly interested in Ji-hun and offers him an opportunity to make money through a simple children's game called Dokji. The rules are simple. Each player has a folded paper square, and the goal is to flip the other's paper by slamming yours against it. At first glance, it sounds almost silly, especially compared to the real problems Ji-hun is facing, but desperation makes him agree. What follows is both comical and humiliating. Ji-hun loses round after round, and every time he loses, the suited man doesn't take money, but instead slaps him hard across the face. Ji-hun becomes the butt of the joke, being beaten over and over, but his stubbornness and greed refuse to let him quit. Finally, after many attempts, he manages to win one round. Instead of celebrating, he is stunned when the man pulls out a thick stack of money and pays him instantly, as promised. For the first time in years, Ji-hun feels a taste of hope, a sign that maybe luck has finally turned in his favor. But the recruiter isn't done. He then slides over a simple business card with strange symbols, a circle, triangle, and square, along with a phone number. He tells Ji-hun that if he wants to make much more money, truly life-changing money, all he has to do is call. What makes this scene so powerful is how it plays with human psychology. Ji-hun has already been humiliated, yet he walks away intrigued, not by the pain of being slapped, but by the intoxicating promise of money. This mysterious encounter plants the seed for everything that follows. The recruiter represents temptation. The card represents a doorway into a world of deadly games, and Ji-hun, blinded by his debts and desperation, has already taken his first step.
After the bizarre but strangely rewarding encounter with the recruiter, Seong Ji-hun cannot get the mysterious business card out of his mind. His life continues to spiral downward, his debts keep piling up. His relationship with his daughter is slipping further away as she prepares to move abroad with her mother and stepfather. And his mother continues to express disappointment in him. Every aspect of his world seems to scream failure. The temptation of the card grows heavier. And finally, in a moment of desperation, he dials the number. A cold, robotic female voice answers, confirming his participation and instructing him to wait at a specific location. No details are provided, no explanations given, only strict, mechanical instructions that make the situation feel both ominous and unavoidable. On the appointed night, Ji-hun waits at the pickup point, surrounded by the shadows of the city. Ivan soon arrives, and inside are other desperate souls. Each as broken and hopeless as him.
Gihan awakens in a massive, brightly lit dormitory, filled with rows upon rows of metal bunk beds stacked to the ceiling. Around him, hundreds of other participants stir, all wearing identical green tracksuits stamped with unique numbers. Gihan discovers that he is player 456, the very last entrant. The room feels both like a prison and a school gymnasium, but there is an undeniable order and discipline to it. A carefully crafted environment that strips away individuality and enforces equality. All participants are men and women who, like Gihan, are drowning in debt and hopelessness, and their shared desperation creates a chilling atmosphere. Standing above them are masked guards dressed in pink uniforms with black masks displaying simple shapes: circles, triangles, and squares. These masked figures are silent, faceless, and utterly devoid of compassion, moving like machines as they enforce the rules of the game. Their presence makes it instantly clear that this is not an ordinary contest. This is an organization with strict hierarchies and terrifying control. As the players exchange nervous glances, confusion spreads. But the rules are simple. They are here to play a series of games, and the ultimate prize is a massive sum of money beyond their imagination. The stage has now been set, the players have been gathered, and Gihan, though still bewildered, realizes that whatever lies ahead could change his life forever, or end it just as easily.
The first game. Red light, green light. As dawn breaks inside the giant facility, tension grows among the 456 participants. They eat their simple meal in silence, still unsure about what exactly they've signed up for. Soon after, the masked guards march them in disciplined formation through a surreal series of rainbow-colored staircases that look almost childlike, like something from a fairy tale or dream. But in this context, the cheerful colors feel eerie, as though mocking the seriousness of the situation. Eventually, the players emerge into an enormous outdoor arena, designed like a school playground, with grass-like flooring and a bright painted sky on the walls, giving the illusion that they're under open daylight. Standing at the far end of the field is a towering robotic doll with pigtails and glowing, unblinking eyes. The guards instruct the players to stand behind a starting line and explain the rules of the first game. Red light, green light. The instructions are simple, almost childish. When the doll says green light, the players can move forward. When it says red light, they must freeze. Anyone caught moving after red light will be eliminated. At first, the players chuckle. It seems absurd that grown adults, desperate for money, would play such a silly children's game. Many laugh nervously, thinking this is a harmless contest for prize money, but the tension lingers in the air, heightened by the faceless guards and the cold precision of the organizers. The doll turns its head, its massive eyes scanning the field. "Green light," it sings, and the players begin to shuffle forward with awkward smiles. Then the doll snaps its head back and announces, "Red light." A few players are caught moving. Suddenly, with shocking brutality, automated guns fire, and the moving participants collapse instantly to the ground. Chaos erupts as many think the shots are blanks or some cruel trick, but when the blood begins to pool beneath the fallen bodies, reality sinks in. The laughter dies, replaced by screams of terror. The surviving players freeze in horror, realizing that eliminated doesn't mean disqualified, it means dead. The guards show no emotion, the doll resets, and the game continues with mechanical indifference. For the first time, the players understand the stakes. This is not a game of fun. This is a game of survival. Panic overtakes the group as people sprint toward the exit in desperation, only to be gunned down mercilessly. Chaos fills the arena, screams echoing as bodies fall one after another, while the doll's cold voice sings again. Green light, red light. Among the frozen chaos, Gi-hun, trembling and drenched in sweat, realizes that he has stepped into a nightmare far worse than his debts or his broken life. The game has begun, and there is no turning back. Aftermath of the first game. shock, fear, and realization. The field is silent after the deafening chaos of gunfire. The giant doll stands motionless now, its blank eyes no longer scanning for movement, while the survivors try to catch their breath. For many, relief quickly turns into horror as they glance back at the playground, now transformed into a graveyard. Nearly half of the 456 players lie motionless on the blood-soaked artificial grass, their faces twisted in fear from their final moments. The air is thick with the stench of death and disbelief, and for a long moment, no one moves, as if frozen not by the doll this time, but by the sheer trauma of what they've witnessed. Song Gi-hoon collapses to his knees, gasping, sweat dripping from his face as the reality sets in. This is no competition for prize money. This is a cruel death match disguised as children's games. He glances at his hands, shaking uncontrollably, and wonders how he even survived when so many others didn't. The masked guards soon march into the arena in chilling synchronization. Without a word, they begin removing the bodies one by one, dragging them away like discarded trash. The silence of their movements is almost more horrifying than the gunfire. It shows how routine this process is for them. There is no hesitation, no sympathy, only mechanical efficiency. The remaining players, still too shocked to speak, are herded back into the massive dormitory where it all began. The walls close in on them now, no longer colorful, but suffocating. When they sit on their bunks, the silence finally breaks into chaos. Angry voices echo, demands for answers grow louder, and several players scream at the guards through the bars, demanding to be released. But the guards do not respond. They stand motionless, their blank masks hiding any trace of humanity. Amid the uproar, the players' fear begins to evolve into rage. Some yell that they were tricked, that they never agreed to risk their lives, that this is murder. Others cry uncontrollably, trembling as the trauma hits them all at once. Gi-hoon, pale and exhausted, sits quietly, watching as panic spreads like wildfire. Beside him, Cho Sang-woo appears more collected, though his eyes reveal the weight of what he has seen. He has already begun calculating the odds of survival and what must be done to outlast the others. Kang Sai-biak remains silent, her expression unreadable, while the old man, player 001, smiles faintly, as if strangely unfazed by the massacre. His calmness stands in eerie contrast to the hysteria around him. Then, the organizers reveal another shocking truth. Screens light up inside the dormitory, displaying a massive piggy bank suspended above them. As the players watch, billions of Korean won pour into it, one stack of cash for every player who died. The eerie chime of coins echoes through the dorm, reminding them that each death directly increases the prize money. A guard coldly announces each eliminated player adds 100 million won to the prize pool. For the first time, the number becomes real. 25.5 billion won is already in the pot after just one game. The players fall silent, realizing the staggering fortune that lies at the end of this deadly competition. But with silence comes division. Some are furious, insisting they must escape before the next game kills them. Others, desperate and buried in debt, begin to wonder if the prize money is worth the risk. Their lives outside are miserable, with creditors, broken families, and ruined reputations. Here, at least, they have a chance, however slim, to win enough money to change everything. Gi-hoon listens to both sides, torn between terror and temptation. Fear claws at his mind, but so does the thought of what 45.6 billion won could do for his daughter, for his mother, for his shattered life. The line between morality and survival begins to blur. The night drags on with no sleep for most. In the shadows of the dormitory, alliances begin to form quietly. Whispers spread between bunks as players realize they cannot survive alone. Gi-hoon finds himself gravitating to a small group of unlikely allies. Seong, Sae-byak, the frail old man, and eventually Ali, a kind-hearted migrant worker. For now, their bond is fragile, born out of fear rather than trust. But as the echoes of the first massacre linger in their minds, one truth becomes clear. If they want
The next morning and the start of the tug-of-war game. When the chaos of the night finally ends, the survivors are left shaken, their faces pale, their eyes sunken from fear and sleeplessness. The dormitory smells of sweat, iron from spilled blood, and hopelessness. Beds are overturned, sheets torn, and bloodstains mark the floor like haunting reminders of the players who didn't make it through the night. Above them, the glass piggy bank glitters ominously, swollen with more money after the massacre. Proof that every death only fattens the prize. For many, the sight is both sickening and strangely motivating. The idea of winning all that money, despite the cost, keeps them clinging to life with trembling hands. The guards march into the room with military precision, their boots striking the floor like drums of war. They announce coldly that it's time for the next game. The survivors exchange looks, a mixture of dread and curiosity. Each game so far has looked deceptively simple, inspired by children's play, but behind the innocent facade lies brutality. Some players silently pray, others rehearse strategies in their minds, but deep down, everyone knows that luck, strength, and betrayal will determine who lives. The players are herded through the labyrinthy bright pastel hallways once again. The candy-colored walls and staircases are surreal, like something out of a child's dream. But for the contestants, the cheerful design has turned into a psychological weapon. The environment mocks them, disguising death in playful colors. Every turn of the stairwell, every upward climb toward the unknown arena feels like a march toward doom. When the group finally emerges into the new game arena, they freeze in shock. Before them is a massive structure that looks like an old playground set, but towering high in the air. Two platforms face each other, and stretched across the deadly gap is a single, thick rope. Below, there is no safety net, only a terrifying plunge into the abyss, which promises instant death for the losing team. What looks at first like a simple game of tug-of-war reveals itself to be one of the most terrifying challenges yet. The guards explain the rules. Players will be divided into teams of 10, each positioned on opposite ends of the rope. The teams must pull with all their strength, and whichever side drags the other across the center line will be the winner. The losers will fall to their deaths below. The rules are simple, brutal, and final. As always, there is no second chance. Fear spreads quickly, but so does desperation. The stronger players, especially Deaksu, the gangster, and his crew, grin with anticipation, convinced their physical strength will guarantee victory. Weaker players, including women and older men, immediately feel despair wash over them, realizing that sheer force alone may decide their fate. Yet, as with every game so far, survival often comes from more than brute strength. It requires cunning. Sung Gi-hoon and his small alliance, Sunggu, Ali, Sae-byak, and player 001, the old man, stick together, determined not to separate. But when the guards count off and divide players into groups of 10, their team ends up with a disadvantage. Alongside them, they have a few weaker, less confident players, including women who feel overlooked and useless in this deadly test of strength. Gi-hoon's team immediately senses their vulnerability. They are far from the muscular, intimidating squads forming nearby. When the first rounds begin, the brutality of the game is revealed in its rawest form. The sound of straining rope, the grunts of effort, and the terrified screams of those being pulled toward their deaths fill the air. Losing teams topple helplessly, their bodies plummeting from the high platforms, their screams echoing until cut off abruptly by the sickening crash below. The victorious teams cheer desperately, not out of joy, but out of sheer relief that they've bought them.
Red light, green light. Tension grows among the 456 participants. They eat their simple meal in silence, still unsure about what exactly they've signed up for. Soon after, the masked guards march them in disciplined formation through a surreal series of rainbow-colored staircases that look almost childlike, like something from a fairy tale or a dream. But in this context, the cheerful colors feel eerie, as though mocking the seriousness of the situation. Eventually, the players emerge into an enormous outdoor arena designed like a school playground, with grass-like flooring and a bright painted sky on the walls, giving the illusion that they're under open daylight. Standing at the far end of the field is a towering robotic doll with pigtails and glowing, unblinking eyes. The guards instruct the players to stand behind a starting line and explain the rules of the first game. Red light, green light. The instructions are simple, almost childish. When the doll says green light, the players can move forward. When it says red light, they must freeze. Anyone caught moving after red light will be eliminated. At first, the players chuckle. It seems absurd that grown adults, desperate for money, would play such a silly children's game. Many laugh nervously, thinking this is a harmless contest for prize money. But the tension lingers in the air, heightened by the faceless guards and the cold precision of the organizers. The doll turns its head, its massive eyes scanning the field. Green light, it sings, and the players begin to shuffle forward with awkward smiles. Then the doll snaps its head back and announces red light. A few players are caught moving. Suddenly, with shocking brutality, automated guns fire, and the moving participants collapse instantly to the ground. Confusion erupts. At first, many think the shots are blanks or some cruel trick, but when the blood begins to pool beneath the fallen bodies, reality sinks in. The laughter dies, replaced by screams of terror. The surviving players freeze in horror, realizing that eliminated doesn't mean disqualified. It means dead. The guards show no emotion. The doll resets and the game continues with mechanical indifference. For the first time, the players understand the stakes. This is not a game of fun. This is a game of survival. Panic overtakes the group as people sprint toward the exit in desperation, only to be gunned down mercilessly. Chaos fills the arena, screams echoing as bodies fall one after another, while the doll's cold voice sings again. Green light, red light. Among the frozen chaos, Gi-hoon, trembling and drenched in sweat, realizes that he has stepped into a nightmare far worse than his debts or his broken life. The game has begun, and there is no turning back. Red light, green light. The struggle to survive. The moment